the Honourable Erica Stanford here to speak to us. Please put your hands together for Minister Stanford.
Just tell people emergency.
Should I do that, please? The very responsible, hard-working Member of Parliament for Mount Musgrave just reminded me that in an event of an emergency, please don't run. Quietly and peacefully walk out through the exit door behind you. Thank you so much.
Tēnā koutou katoa ngā mihi nui kia koutou. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for coming out today. Can I just thank Nancy and my colleagues and candidates in the room as well for coming along today, and also to Linfield College for hosting us. Because I know that many of you would have had plans on a Saturday morning, whether that's children's sports, professional commitments, or just spending time with your family. So it means a great deal to me that you've come out today. And I acknowledge those of you also in the room who are some of our community leaders, as well as my National Party colleagues. The role of Minister of Immigration is particularly important to me as the daughter of a migrant. My dad immigrated to New Zealand in 1952 when he was 5 years old. He didn't speak any English. He spent weeks on a ship travelling to his new home. And in New Zealand, he went to school. He became a pilot. He established his own family and has been a very active community member for everything from school PTAs to sports clubs for many, many decades. And I'm very proud of him and our heritage. And that young person who was learning a new language and building a new life in a foreign country could never have imagined that one day his daughter would become the Minister of Immigration. New Zealand is built on the contributions of many migrants like my dad. All of us, whether we are recent arrivals or with the privilege of roots in New Zealand that go back generations, once were new to these shores. And many of you in this room will have your own story of migrating to New Zealand, whether that's for study, to work, for love, even for just a visit that became something more permanent. There have been some pretty ugly words that have been spoken recently about our migrant communities, and quite frankly, they are ones that I would not highlight or want to give any more attention to. But I know that they have caused a great deal of hurt for many of you and for our wider communities. And so, on a day like today, at an event like this, it would not be right for me to not speak about them. So let me tell you what I know about our migrant communities as the Minister of Education and the Minister of Immigration. Migrants to New Zealand value education. They care about their children being at school and they want them to receive a world-leading education. Migrants to New Zealand work extraordinarily hard to get ahead, to provide for their families and for their futures. Many of them work multiple jobs, they invest in small businesses, and they work long hours to provide for their families. And many come to New Zealand to fill skills gaps that we desperately need, or often work in areas where some New Zealanders are unwilling to. They care for our elderly. They man our hospitals. They help run our dairy farms. Others come as international students carrying the hopes of their families that New Zealand's education system will provide them with a high quality qualification that will help them succeed in life, whether it's here, back home or somewhere else. And people who come to New Zealand from overseas bring a cultural richness and a diversity, a willingness to work hard and to contribute to our beautiful country, whether that be temporary or more permanent. So for those of you who have felt recently like this is a place that you've made your home and it has become less welcoming or a little bit more ugly, I want you to know, well, you are welcome here and that we value your contribution to New Zealand and to our communities. As the Minister, it is difficult to watch immigration being used to cause division and discontent when I have spent the last 2.5 years working so hard to address the significant immigration challenges that were left to us by the previous government. My job is one that tries to find that balance between ensuring that opportunities are prioritised for people who are already here in New Zealand, while facilitating the skills and knowledge that we need and businesses need to grow and to thrive, along with opportunities for visitors, for family reunification, for humanitarian contributions, for students, while also protecting our public service and the integrity of the immigration system. It is, to be frank, an incredibly complex undertaking, and I know that Many of you will remember the challenges that confronted us when I became the Minister. Net migration was at unsustainably high levels, 134,000. Most work visas, the vast majority, were being granted for low-skilled roles, around 60%. Migrant exploitation, you will remember, after the borders opened, had surged, and the integrity of our immigration system had been undermined by the work visas that were granted without proper scrutiny of risk or verification of documents. The previous Labor government had implemented a range of immigration settings that were not fit for purpose, including restricting residence pathways that meant that many skilled and experienced people had no pathway to remain in New Zealand, and introducing this arbitrary and unfair parent-resident ballot. The task that confronted us was significant, and it's taken most of the last 2.5 years to address the mess that was left. My focus as the Minister of Immigration has to prioritise these areas that were broken and the undermining of the integrity of our immigration system, and also the public trust in our immigration system, or what was policies that were acting as a handbrake on our aspirations for growth. At the same time, we were clear that people who were already in New Zealand needed to be prioritised for job opportunities here. Immigration New Zealand and MSD have been working very closely together to identify employers who are not engaging in good faith and employers that are having their immigration accreditation suspended or revoked if they are not genuinely considering New Zealanders first for the jobs that they have. We're also enforcing the maximum continuous stay on work visas because the labour market is very different to where it was 3 years ago. The result of all of that are now becoming clear. Net migration from that record high of over 130,000 is around 25,000. At the same time, we have flipped the proportion of those visas that were being granted for lower skilled roles. When I became the Minister, 60% of work visas were for lower skilled roles. Today, that is 15%. Almost 50,000 people have received their residence through the Green List. People like doctors, teachers, social workers, nurses, engineers and mechanics, the very people that we need New Zealand to have to help grow our economy and deliver those very important public services. And importantly, and this is one of the changes that I am the most proud of, in 2 weeks' time we will have 2 new pathways to residence for skilled and experienced people who were totally cut out by the Labor government's changes, which severely restricted opportunities for residents. To the people who will soon be eligible for residence, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for bringing your skills and experience to New Zealand and contributing to our country, even when there was no clear pathway for you to stay. Thank you for uprooting your families from the other side of the world, for taking a chance on a new country when you couldn't promise your children that they would have a long-term future here. Thank you for your contributions you've made to our schools, our sports clubs, our community organisations, our cultural groups, knowing that you may have to leave. Thank you for keeping the faith while we sorted through the mess that was left by the previous government. Thank you for the contributions that you will continue to make as residents and hopefully one day citizens of our beautiful country. Another area where Labor left us with a process that was clearly sounded great at the time, potentially in the halls of power in Wellington, but was totally unfit for the realities of people's lives, was the parent-resident category. Specifically, taking something as important as family reunification and turning it into a game of chance and luck, where people's parents were being able to live and stay in New Zealand was subject to the arbitrariness of a random ballot. A system that has meant some people's parents get drawn just a few weeks after having lodged their expression of interest, where others have waited for years with no certainty. And on top of that, having to pay a fee after fee for every 2 years when their expressions of interests expired to go back in the ballot. I want to acknowledge the fearless advocacy of Nancy Liu, of Rima Narkley, Carlos Chong and other MPs. I can assure you that they have worn a path to my office and never letting me forget for 1 second that this was something that we had to sort out for this term. That the stress and the anxiety that was being caused for migrant families desperate to have some fairness and some clarity and some certainty could not continue. I'd also like to thank all of the people, and some of you are in this room, who came to public meetings or who contacted me personally to share your stories and experiences of life in limbo, not knowing whether or not your parents would be drawn the next month, the next year, or perhaps never. And I want to share with you a few of their pleas because their voices matter. Someone wrote to me saying, how can a lottery system be considered the fairest way to assess applications when a chance alone determines who is invited to apply and what families may remain together? A person's future, their family and their life they have spent years building should not depend on chance. It's really clear that family reunification ballot is unfair, it's arbitrary, it lacks transparency and creates unnecessary stress for New Zealand families and for their parents. So today, I'm here to tell you that we have listened, and from next week, the August draw, the ballot, will be the very last full ballot that will be conducted for the parent-resident category. Instead, from November, selection will be moving to a new hybrid system. In this process, 90% of selections will be made from a chronological queue, with the final 10% from a ballot. This provides certainty and priority for families who have been waiting for years, while also providing a small opportunity for people who've had an expression of interest accepted recently to still have a chance of being selected. For people who have had expressions of interest expire and have had to submit a subsequent expression of interest, as long as the EOI was submitted within 90 days of the previous one expiring, your placement in the queue will be by the first date that your EOI was accepted. So if your parents submitted an EOI in 2022 or 2023 and have kept their EOI current, you can expect they will reach the front of the queue reasonably quickly and will be selected in either November or next year. Immigration New Zealand will be contacting all current EOI holders in October to let them know where they are in this new queue. It will provide families with some transparency, some certainty about how long they may have to wait before they reach the front of the queue. And this will enable families to better plan for their lives and people who may be waiting some years still before their parents reach the front of the queue, consider whether or not they want to apply for other visas in the meantime. Finally, from the 5th of October, EOIs will not automatically expire after 2 years, and people will not have to continue to pay fees to resubmit another EOI. Instead, people will just be required to confirm or update their details with the EOI every 2 years. There will not be a charge for their place in the queue, but all it will do is ensure that our information is current for people when they do reach the front of the queue or were drawn by the ballot. All of the existing eligibility criteria will continue to apply, including sponsors' incomes, acceptable health requirements. This is because it balances family reunification with supporting New Zealanders' wider trust and confidence in the immigration system, especially at a time when many of our public services are under pressure. In closing, I am extremely proud to be the Minister of Immigration that has spent the last 3 years focused on fixing the basics of our immigration system and building a system we need for the future. We inherited a system that was broken, and while it will never be a completely perfect system, I'm proud of the changes that we've delivered, that we've bottomed out unsustainable net migration, we've addressed migrant exploitation, we've delivered new visas, we've increased the proportion of higher skilled people coming to New Zealand, we've provided pathways to residence, and now we will restore trust and confidence in the parent-resident pathway. And thank you again to those MPs in the room who have spent the last couple of years making sure that I never forgot this. Thank you so much for being here today, all of you, and thank you for your support.
To see and hear from the Minister. Also to acknowledge the hardworking MPs in this room. Along here is Dr. Carlos Chong, MP for Member of Parliament and also the National Party candidate for Mount Roskill, as well as Honourable Melissa Lee, the Member of
first introduced, everyone was excited that they had a chance, but it very quickly became, the thing that they realised was that they may never get selected, and so that uncertainty and that unfairness caused a huge amount of stress to migrant families, knowing that that may never happen for them, and being unable to plan for the future, whether that's moving here or getting visitor visas or waiting offshore. So the new system will create that level of certainty and fairness, which the migrant communities have been calling for some time.
And how many of those families have actually contacted you to express their concern?
Oh, look, I couldn't tell you, but I've had numerous emails, and we held public meetings where we had, hundreds of people turn up to talk about a range of things, but it was always something that was brought up with me. And I know that Nancy and Carlos have been talking to Chinese communities and also the Indian communities who have been feeding that back to them.
And there's almost 8,000 applications still in the queue. Is it a consideration to temporarily increase the cap to bring down those numbers?
Look, the thing that has been raised with me, and the people have been writing to me about, is the unfairness of the ballot and the system and the process. And so that is the thing that we are fixing. Over the last couple of years, we've introduced the new long-term visitor visa for parents who are able to now come while potentially they wait for the outcome of their parent resident visa. That was the thing we needed to fix, though, that unfairness of the ballot. So from November, the first time we have this new process, people will be selected in order of which they put their EOI in.
And how long is that expected wait time for someone entering the chronological queue today?
Look, it may be still a number of years, but there is, of course, that 10% chance that they still may be selected under the ballot. That was something that came through clearly from the community. They did still want an element of a ballot, but only a small proportion. But we have, as I say, introduced other visa pathways. There are existing visa pathways and this new long-term 5-year renewable for another 5-year parent visitor visa to allow parents to stay here for longer while they potentially wait for the outcome of their residence application.
Do you think that with the ballot system being removed, that's going to maybe make people lose interest with there being already so many applications in the queue?
What I've heard from migrant communities is that they want a sequential system where they know where they stand so that they can make plans for the future. I do not think it'll mean that they will lose interest, because family reunification is very, very important to all families, but especially to our migrant families.
So, and just going back to the number of years, what's the average or maximum expected time for people entering the queue today?
Well, look, it may still be 2, 3, 4 years, but what they will be able to do is apply for those other longer-term visitor visas to spend time with their families while they are waiting. As I said in my speech, it is a job that I have to balance what is best for migrants and their families, and also for New Zealand. But the key thing we wanted to do today was to make sure we fix the unfair ballot system that was left to us by the previous government.
And you keep on calling this system, the ballot system, cruel. The National's been in government for 3 years. Why is this cruel ballot not been addressed earlier?
What I announced when I spoke today was the enormous work program we had. We were left unsustainable net migration, huge amounts of migrant exploitation, lack of pathways to residence for people. We have had an enormous work program to fix up the mistakes of the previous government. I have worked at pace in the immigration system to make sure that we fixed all those things. This was one of those things that we wanted to make sure we got done by this term, but as you can see, there was a big lot of priorities we had to get through, but I'm really pleased today to be able to announce that before the end of this term we will have implemented this change.
Minister, this element of luck has been removed and it's like a long queue now, but the uncertainty still prevails, and there would be migrant parents who have been waiting in the OI list for long years. Also, there were reservations about the cost, but there has been no changes announced as per the cost of the visas.
Those people who have been waiting a long time and have an expression of interest will be at the front of the queue. So as I said in my speech, if you've had your application in for a number of years, you can expect to be selected in November or early next year. And that is the beauty of the new system, that certainty, and if you've been waiting the longest, you will be selected first. We did not look at the cost of any visas. We always look at those as a whole. There is a fee and levy review coming where we will look at all visas at the same time.
Just going to the cost as well, how much will this cost to change or implement the new system?
Well, the beauty of the new system is the reduction in cost, because at the moment you have to renew your EOI, your expression of interest, every 2 years. That is now gone. All you have to do is just let us know if there's a change and update your circumstances. There will be no fee for that. So actually the cost to families will be reduced.
I'd love to get some comments from all of the people in National here on the soon-to-be party list. Nancy, are you hopeful that do you think you're going to get into government?
Oh, I have full trust in the party's work in the List Franking Committee today. That will reflect the entire team that the National Party is putting forward to this election on 7th of November for the general election. It is where the public will see the entire team of National, and we're all working very hard to make sure that we gain the party vote around the country and to ensure that we have a very strong government to be re-elected after that day.
And as a List MP, are you hopeful that you're going to get a spot in Parliament?
Oh, I'm very hopeful and very confident as an entire team of the National Party working together to fight for every single party vote that we have around the country to make sure that we will be re-elected as a strong government on November the 7th.
And with the low polling of National recently, does that have any concerns for some of the other List MPs? Melissa?
This is actually about the immigration announcement, and I'm really, really pleased that we are supporting the minister here. We have been lobbying our previous government as well as our national ministers for this to actually happen, and I'm so pleased that the minister was able to deliver it finally.
Of course, but as a minister, are you hopeful that you're going to get a spot in government for the next?
I'm not a minister at the moment,
No,
but one day maybe again. But no, I'm very, very pleased with the National Party, and I think the work that we have actually done for the last 3 years will actually hopefully convince people that we can actually deliver for the future. We have been fixing the basics, and we will build a better future for New Zealanders.
Look, we are an incredibly strong team with a very strong track record, and we will be taking that to the election, whether that's what we've achieved in health and education and law and order and in infrastructure with RMA changes. We have got a wonderful track record that we will be campaigning on this election, but every single party vote counts because I want our big strong team back. The reason for these changes today is because of the people standing behind me, and I want them back in Parliament, and that means you have to party vote National.
Carlos, do you have any other comments?
Yes, I think today is a perfect example of what this government have been doing, fixing the basic and building the future. And today we listen to the people, we work for the people, and I think like the minister just mentioned just now, people can judge us on our track record, not just only on the slogan. So I have a very confidence that we can turn it around and we will be in the government again.
The cap is on 2,500. There is a significantly higher backlog. Have you gone far enough? Do you believe you've gone far enough?
As I've said earlier, all of the communication that I've had has been around the unfairness and the cruelty of the system, and that was what we have prioritised. We haven't been lobbied like we have been on anything else other than fixing the system, and that's what we're doing today.
And just on that 10%, why keep the 10% instead of just moving the whole system in a chronological queue?
It was really clear from when we held public meetings and had feedback from people who'd put submissions in and submitters and the feedback from the MPs who are standing behind me that the migrants still did want a small element of chance, but predominantly they wanted certainty, and I think we struck that balance exactly right.
For families already in the queue, how realistically could they expect to wait at most?
Yeah, look, as I've said, some of them, if they're only just putting their expression of interest now, it may be a number of years, but as I've already said, there are a huge amount of visas that they can use to come to New Zealand, either the multiple entry parent visa, which allows them to be in New Zealand for 18 months over a 3-year period, or the one that we've introduced as a government, the 5-year visitor visa, which is renewable for another 5 years. So these are choices that migrants will now be able to make because they have the certainty of when they will be selected. So rather than having to apply for another expensive visitor visa on top of a resident visa, now they'll be able to make those choices, whether or not they'll be selected soon or if they have to wait a bit. Okay. Thank you very much. Out there, but it is a